The second thing we did is then we explained what albinism was to the people there. You'll be surprised, or maybe not surprised, to know that most of them had no idea what was going on. They just knew they were different. And so the idea that it was a genetic issue, that there were things that they should be doing specially because they were suffering albinism, they really didn't have a good idea of that. And so what we did is we created a two-sided, so I'm handing it around in English. I figured you all might appreciate that more, but we did it in French, which is their country language. We did this two-sided in French, and we laminated it. So it was one piece of laminated document, so that, as you might imagine, in a developing country, regular paper would last about a day. But our church staff took care of making sure it was in the paper was laminated, and it'll stay solid for as long as they keep it around. So what we did, let's see if this is going to cooperate, yes. We had helpers, so this fellow right in the middle, his name is Chapo Capitan. Okay, he's the captain of the Chapos, because Chapo is a very traditional name. This fella would work with my brother, because even though French is the native, the country language, many of the people here do not speak French. They only speak their local language, which is called Bassar, for the area of the country that they live in. So even though my brother speaks perfect French, it doesn't do a bit of good with at least half to two-thirds of the population. And so these two would work together, my brother Andy and Chapo Capitan, would work together to explain what was on the sheet and give them an idea of what albinism is all about. And so this sheet really gives them an idea that it is a genetic problem, that it's not something that someone else can catch. Talks about the problems of vision, the problems with skin, and actually you can see the two pictures here. And these were important pictures for us to highlight to the folks suffering albinism. When they came to us, most of them had no head covering, so their head was wide open to the sun. Most of them were wearing very short sleeve outfits, so their arms were heavily exposed. None of them had sunglasses on. And I can virtually guarantee you, though we didn't ask a single one, that none of them had ever seen sunscreen in their lives. All right? So, what we are trying to do with this program is let them know you have an issue. It's not something that you're going to spread anywhere else, even if someone tells you so. Here's what you need to do about it. And so talking about the fact that we need, in order to avoid the harmful rays, what they need to do is first, they need to wear long sleeve shirts, okay? So even more covering than I'm wearing here today. So this is sort of the native dress. Ordinarily, this is a little more ornamental than most of them were wearing, but it does not cover the arms. So we were handing out shirts, full length, hopefully light colored, that would cover their entire arms. Because as you looked at the arms, at the bodies of the folks, they were clearly suffering some of those pre-skin cancer issues that we knew were going to turn into problems. Then hats. So we arranged, through our church and others, to get some kind of wide-brimmed hat, so that the person would have full covering not only of their face, also their neck and elsewhere. And then, as I say, I can virtually guarantee none of them had ever used this stuff, because you cannot buy sunscreen in Togo. It's not outlawed. People just don't have any need for sunscreen. And so you can go into any store you want in Togo, and almost to a place, they will not have sunscreen. So you need to, if you're going to use sunscreen, first off, even knowing what it is, most folks didn't. They just thought it was some kind of lotion. And then sunglasses. So we made sure that they had a very good understanding with this two-page document of what's going on. If we did nothing else, I think the education was important, because we also educated the community. So anywhere we went, we were talking about albinism, about what we were doing, and we actually were asked back at that same radio station that we advertised on. We actually were asked back for an interview. And this is the only radio station in the whole area. So if you're listening to the radio, you were hearing about albinism that evening. So we really got some good educational information out there. So here's one of our little fellas who suffers from albinism, sort of checking out the laminated sheet, okay? I'm not sure he was reading it, but he maybe was enjoying the pictures that were on there, right? Because he saw a little boy similar to himself in that one picture. And so I've already mentioned most of this. This gives you a visual of some of the folks and their items. So this young lady, you can see her dress is only covering her to about the elbow. And so she's holding in her other hand a full-length blouse that she can wear, probably donated by some member of our church. All right? She's wearing now a hat, again, probably donated from here, and sunglasses, which were, by the way, they cost us a total of $1 a pair for UV protected sunglasses arranged by an eye doctor in Fort Thomas. So $1 a pair, we were able to outfit a child or an adult with sunglasses. And then every person, as you'll see, this is the little girl, she has in her hand a container of suntan lotion. So she has sunscreen in her hand, and it is specific. It goes with her outfit almost perfectly, doesn't it? But we arranged for sunscreen, and what we did is every person got 4 containers of sunscreen, knowing that it was going to be a while before they'd be able to replenish their supply. We'll talk about replenishment later. This is my sister-in-law, Anna, with the hat and the matching outfit with the rubber gloves. Now what Anna, the reason she has rubber gloves on, she's actually applying sunscreen to the people. Again, they've never used sunscreen. So part of it is what parts of your body need the lotion and which parts don't. So if you're wearing a hat and everything else, there are only a few exposed places where you still need to apply the sunscreen. And so she was applying it so that they would get an idea. This woman on the far left is almost exactly my age. She was the oldest person suffering from albinism that we dealt with on this trip. That probably tells you a little bit about life expectancy of those suffering albinism. It's not a guarantee, but it is definitely a life threatener in a country like Togo. Here's another little fella, and it's a little hard to see his dad's face, but the fella on the far right is his dad. And one of the things that was most pleasing to me about this was the fact that the parents cared so much about their children. Most of the parents were not suffering albinism, but yet the care and the love that they had for their kids was very apparent. Even this fellow, who has a little bit of a grim look on his face, you could tell through his outstanding activity that he cared for his son greatly and really was making sure that he had the best quality of life possible. The neat thing was, a week later at the market, I saw this same young man wearing his hat, wearing his sunglasses, and striding down the middle of the street. Very proud of himself, happy to be out there in the market day, and not the least bit worried about, gee, I'm different than the other kids here. It was really marvelous to see.